Two men in formal suits are sitting in a car. One of them says that now Miram has become just a legend. No one takes his existence seriously anymore. The man looked at his tablet. The second man in glasses sitting behind the wheel asked him, "Isn't this for the best?" The fact that people with unusual powers are lurking around is an alarming fact. The man with the tablet objected, but the problem is that they have to suffer precisely because of this alarming fact. The man with glasses replied that he did not seem to like the promotion to senior manager. The man answered, "Of course. They say his predecessor died during one of the missions, and he began as a simple civil servant who dreamed only of spending his old age calmly and safely. He doesn't want to go to the next world until he receives his pension. Should he resign if this is the case?" He looked at some photo on the tablet and said it turns out that some high school student has become a mum resident. The driver asked again, "Does he mean the person to whom they are now heading?" The manager said that since he is a high school student, then this is already a fairly conscious age. Even if that guy was of sound mind, we would never have become a Miram citizen. The driver replied that this is true. This almost never happens, although like Shang will meet some strong Merriman before his death, then that is another question. At this time, on the roof of the school, a certain schoolboy stood behind the partition and looked down his eyes. Or empty. He leaned down when suddenly, he heard a voice asking, was he going to jump? The schoolboy got scared and turned his head. A guy was standing not far from him. He wondered how long it had been standing there. What's the difference? After all, he had already written a will. He looked down and thought that this would all end here. He closed his eyes. Suddenly, he was interrupted by the voice of that guy. Who said that it was better for him not to do this? The young man shuddered, turned around and thought, when did he manage to get so close? Now the young man was only 50 centimeters away from him. The student looked at the badge and wondered, is he in his second ear? The guy said that before death, a person sees the life he lived. A happy and bitter moments emerge in memory. At the same time fly by in an instant. But does he know what those who want to commit suicide most regret, that this is the last choice that forced them to say goodbye to life? The young man became nervous and remained silent. He started shouting, "Stop pretending that the guy understands something. Has he ever died?" The young man burst into tears. He really want this. He too fought like a fish against ice, trying to move on with his life. But that freaked Kim Yunho mocked him even more every time. At such moments, what does he suggest he do? Let him see for himself. The young man lifted his shirt. There were wounds on his side. He said that this guy also did it, saying that he could not carry out his instructions. Properly, it would be better if he simply squeezed money out of him and forced him to be his errand slave. But this freak put him in front of everyone and began to whip him on the cheeks, spit in his face, and take off his pants. The second-year student listened to him attentively, but remained silent. The schoolboy asked if he knew what was the funniest thing. Kim Yunho is a real freak. But for some reason, even other students treat him like an idiot. Every day seemed like a living hell to him, and he decided to ask the class teacher for help. But does he know what they told him? In the end, getting into trouble at school is bad for both of them, so let them get over it. Seriously, why should he put up with him? He's dying now. He really feels bad. The young man, sobbing, said that if the world is one continuous hell, then he just needs to leave here, doesn't he? The guy replied, well, if he thinks so. He extended his hand and pushed the schoolboy down, saying that it would be nice for him to taste death once. The young man was dumbfounded and thought, what was that just now? Did he just push him? He flew down and screamed. Suddenly, he opened his eyes. Wide memories of his mother who wanted to hug him. All the memories from childhood friends flashed through his head. Following this, memories began of how he was beaten and humiliated, all because of that freak Kim Yunho. If he knew that his life would end like this, he would have hit him at least once. This is unfair. He doesn't deserve to die like that. The guy landed on the ground. It was dark. Was he dying? He opened his eyes and woke up in the infirmary. Why was he here? What happened? Was it a dream or a ghost? And from what moment? Suddenly, the door to the medical office opened, and Kim Yunho entered. He exclaimed, Kang Haegi. He knew he was here. King Haegi got scared and asked Kim Yunho. The next moment, he hit the wall of the barn and asked the guy to wait. They were somewhere in the backyard of the school. Kim Yunho threw the notebook at his feet and said that he had seen his will. How touching he was, almost brought to tears, but what a freak he made of him in his dying scrolls. Kang Haegi thought it was not a dream, but he definitely remembers a sharp kick in the stomach from Kim Yunho made him bend over on the ground. The schoolboy told him to concentrate and not try to pass out. Let him say, didn't he leave the lesson to commit suicide? And why does he find the freak who went to die sleeping in the first aid station? King Haley thought, did he really dream about the will and absenteeism? Then what was on the roof? He clenched his fists. True, what difference does it make whether it's a dream or not? Those feelings were so real. Chung Yunho grabbed his head and said, now he can't die alone, maybe help him. King He was breathing heavily. He regretted his choice then, but he would no longer allow himself to be calmly humiliated. He clenched his hand into a fist. A sharp blow to the face made him fall. He thought that his body was not moving the way he wanted. Kim Yunho struck him with blows one after another. Kang Hae thought that he needed to do at least something even like Shine will die. Then, without regrets, he clenched his fist and, gathering determination, pointed it at the offender's face. Kung Yunho didn't expect this, but still he easily dodged. He turned to two friends. Standing nearby, look, this idiot is now fighting back. The guys laughed. Kung Yunho threw him against the wall and said that he was throwing such an idea, how dare he even. King Haley clenched his two fists. He was shaking and said that he would no longer alive just by letting himself be beaten. Chung Yunho smiled. Just look at him. Let him try to catch him. King Hagi thought that this was right. If he was destined to die, then he would rather die trying to fight back this freak. He stood up and suddenly heard a voice saying that the guy was braver than he thought. Kang Hole was surprised and turned his head. The guy from the roof was sitting on the wall. Is this the same ghost? The guy said that it looks like he shouldn't worry. Kang Haze thought so. It wasn't a dream. One of the offenders asked that this is the second year. Where did we get here? The second guy replied that he was thinking the same thing. Kim Yunho told the guy if he could not interfere with the younger ones having fun and left here, and if he really wants to fit into their company, maybe he should call Jinjo. He knows this guy. He's the coolest among the second year students. The guy remained silent. He jumped down and said that apparently it was fate. He would help once. He walked towards the main character and took him by the hand, telling him to tense his fist harder and let him correct his stance too. Kang Hai didn't understand anything. The guy patted the main character on the back and told him to try now. The group of offenders left. What was he going to do? The guy replied to relax against such types, because one blow is enough. Kim Yunho shuddered and got angry. He shouted, "What is this idiot talking about?" He rushed at Kang Hai, and he had already begun to retreat, but the guy touched his elbow. His hand flew forward on its own, delivering such a strong blow that Kim Yunho flew back with a roar. Kang Haley was stunned. Kim Yunho's friends asked him to wake up Kang, how he didn't understand how this could happen. Two guys turned to him. This freak, how did he do it? King Hae tried to explain that it was not him, but the school children rushed at him, saying that he was a corpse. Then a guy touched his back, and he struck both of them with lightning speed. With both hands, the offenders flew into the ground. Kang Hae was breathing heavily. Looking at the school children he had defeated, he thought, what happened now? The guy came up to him from behind and said that he was really strong and knocked them out with one blow. But it's great, with such skills you won't have to be a punching bag anymore. He agrees, right? Hung Hai remained silent and asked who he was. It was he who pushed him off the roof and carried him to the first aid station. And he beat these freaks too. The guy said, how come it was he who did them? Kang Hae shouted, who does he take for a moron? He swung to hit him but fell to the ground. The guy asked to be easier. What was he doing? Kang Hae asked who he really is. A ghost or maybe an esper? The guy replied, is it important he helped him? Isn't that the most important thing? Tang Hae screamed. Did he help? Yes, he only made it worse. In his opinion, they will leave him alone when he wakes up. Most likely, they will mock him even more for the fact that he hit them only once. These freaks will repay him several times, hundreds more. The guy paused and said he can't understand everything. The one who calmly runs with his fists at a ghost, an alien, and in a spur. Is he scared of some punk, or was he more ridiculous in his eyes than they were? King Hae shuddered and asked what should he do. Then the guy let go of his hand and sarcastically asked him to bring their feelings to his knees and began to ask for forgiveness. King Hage thanked him for saving him. To be honest, he doesn't care if the ghost is an alien or an asper. He just can't believe that someone came to his aid. He will never forget his kindness. The guy was confused. Does he have bipolar disorder? Tang Hayes said since he saved him, let him take responsibility. The guy was scared. What did he say? King Hayes asked to teach him to be as strong as him. The guy asked if he knew him. Where did such statements come from? Kang Hayes spoke. He is Louisiana's second year. The guy was surprised at first. He didn't understand how he guessed his name, and then he looked at his badge. King Hayes said that he will do whatever he asks. Just let him allow him to become stronger for a meeting place. It's a bit underwhelming. Meanwhile, two men got out of the car. The manager said that it was no longer necessary to go. It's time to meet like Shine, who, being a simple person, has become a big shot in Miriam. At this time, Lee Seong thought about it and said that a long time ago, he also begged someone for this, And does Kang Hei know what he finally got? Spare disappointment and an enemy he must destroy. King Hei sat on the ground dumbfounded. Li Xiong left. He came across two men. One of them said that his name was Li Zhong Nip. He was a senior manager in the Miram Special Forces Department. He handed over his business card. Li Xing already looked at this silently. Li Zhong Nip said that it was a little unexpected for him, but even in such a place, he was glad to meet the guy like Qing. Asked what the purpose of his visit was, the driver was nervous. He shouldn't be afraid of them. The senior manager just wanted to greet him. He knows a man named Kumon Ryan. The man said the senior manager and turned to the man. He answered correctly. He may be uncomfortable answering such a question due to his rejection of the fact that his teacher is the biggest disaster in the history of Miriam. He's heard the news about him, hasn't he? Kumanirong became the leader of a dangerous terrorist group called the Shadow Warriors after he took office. The group steps become more and more unhindered. Now they are strengthening their power beyond the boundaries of the state. In the system, and at such a pace they can take over the whole world. The man continued to speak. Moreover, recently the Shadow Warriors have been spreading their influence in Miram lynching. Asked what he was getting at, Li Jiang. Note replied that they asked for caution when offering cooperation. Miriam and the government certainly cannot interfere in each other's affairs. But he thinks that they will not allow an international terrorist organization to quietly operate within the country. Therefore, if the guy suddenly has any information regarding this, suddenly the soda in the man's hands exploded. Lynching said that Kumon Ren is his worst enemy, so don't bother him with such questions anymore. He threw the business card into the soda can and left. The man with glasses asked what is the manager's first impression. Li Zhong Nipe said the guy turned out to be no mistake. At first he thought that he was just an ordinary youth, but he knows how to show character. Li Zhong Nip pulled out a business card from the jar and said for some reason there is a desire to see how he breaks down. At this time King Hayes looked at the pile of garbage lying on his desk. He thought of course this was all his reality. The gaze of his classmates seems much more intense than before. He turned around and looked at the class. Maybe it was because he almost died. The school children looked at him sideways. He thought that absolutely everyone took Kim Yun-ho's side and mocked him. But it turned out that quite a few students were worried about him. Maybe everyone turned a blind eye to what was happening because they were afraid of becoming Kim Yun-ho's next victim. Kang Hayes picked up the trash. By the way, why did he pester him all this time? The door to the classroom suddenly opened. Kim Yun-ho entered and called Kang Hai-chi. He began to insult him and move towards him. Tang Haegi thought that there was no need to be nervous. He decided that he would no longer allow himself to be beaten. He would hit Kim Yun-ho, and he would hit back. The guy clenched his fist if he could hit him at least once. Suddenly, a strong blow to the face made him fly away. He fell and blood flowed from his mouth. Chung Yun-ho hovered over him and asked him what he did recently. He grabbed him by the shirt and shouted at him to tell him what kind of nonsense he pulled. King Hagar only had time to clear his throat before another punch from Kim Yun-ho hit him in the face. The schoolboy shouted. Did he want to die? Who was he looking at like that? He started beating Kang Hai. Let him answer. Is he going to open his mouth at all? Their classmates stood silently and watched in horror. One of Kim Yun-ho's friends reached out and said, "It seems someone's head was blown off again." Suddenly someone shouted to stop. It was a girl with glasses. She stood up and said that lunch was ending soon, so Kim Yun-ho needed to let go of the beaten guy. He was already covered in blood. Kang Yan-ho let go of the color of his shirt and said, turning to the headman, he didn't seem to understand what she trying to stop him now. The blood vessels in his eyes burst. He still took pity on her because she was the head girl. The girl shuddered. She knows who his father is, right? He stood up, blood dripping from his hand. He walked towards the girl and added that his father was the coolest lawyer from the best law firm in their country. The fat guy behind him tried to stop him. Kang Yan-ho said, "Let her imagine that he got into a little trouble at school, and what will happen to him then? It's interesting to know if she'll see what happens." The girl hesitated. Suddenly, a voice came from behind Kim Yun-ho and said that he was his opponent. King Hayes stood in a stance, stretching his arm forward. Preparing for battle, Kim Yun-ho looked towards him. His classmates became worried. Kang Hae thought that this was a curse. He finally remembered how he crossed Kim Yun-ho's path. After all, he stood up for the student he bullied, and everything went so far. And why did he climb then? Why hasn't anything changed after everything? Chin Yun-ho grabbed the desk and shouted, enraged that then they would play for real. Kang Hai trembled. The school children made noise. Is it time to stop him? The fat guy was worried. What if Kang Heidi ended up dying? Another guy took the phone. He couldn't do, otherwise it would be bad later. Suddenly, his phone rang. He asked Kim Yun-ho to stop so that he could pick up the phone quickly. Cheonghil Highland is calling. Kim Yun-ho said that he would call back, but the guy insisted that he answer now. The angry schoolboy threw his chair and cursed. He took the phone and said that it was him, and suddenly asked how he knew Kang Hagaya. The guy shouted, "What? Why?" The scream came from the receiver. "If they told you not to touch, then don't touch it." "You idiot," Kim Yun-ho started. One of his friends asked what happened. Chung Yan said not to touch Kang Hae. How does he know it? Kang Yun-ho looked at him angrily. He swore and told Kang Hae to wait a little. He would meet with Jin Hyun and find out everything personally. He walked out of the classroom and slammed the door. Tang Haefeel thought what suddenly happened. Jahan is a second-year bully. Why is he him? Then he remembered the last fight where Kim Yun-ho turned to Lucian and said that if he really wants to join their party, maybe he should call Jiuni. The headman turned to him. She asked if everything was okay with him. He was bleeding heavily. She handed him a handkerchief. Tang Haeji thanked her and said that he wanted to know something. In the hallway, the school children were chatting about something. Two guys sitting in the classroom turned around. Someone called them. It was Kang Hae. He asked if Lucian was here by any chance. One of the guys exclaimed, "Oh my god, what's wrong with his face?" Kang Hae laughed. The other guy replied that Lucian is from this class. But he hasn't appeared at school for a long time. Even the class teacher doesn't know what's wrong with him. King Hayes was surprised the guys started talking. Did he accidentally die? What kind of nonsense is he talking about? Answered the second one. Tang Haekri stood silently. Then who did he see recently? Is he really a sign? Goosebumps ran down his line. The fat guy asked what was wrong with him. The other replied that he did not know. From the back of the classroom, two boys glared at Kang Hage. He went out into the corridor and couldn't believe it. Could he really be a ghost? No, this can't be. Chung Yan-ho and his gang also saw him. Suddenly, someone tall-shaved guy turned to him, put his hand on him, and said that he had a couple of questions. Kang Hege looked questioningly. They went outside. The guy asked Kang Hae-dwa not to be afraid, but just tell him what he knows. He asked what he needed to tell. And I thought to myself, this tall, healthy guy is definitely a high school student. The guy turned to him and said he recently asked about like Shine, right? Saying how you confirmed, and asked what is it? Suddenly a voice from behind asked them to stop. They turned around. A woman in a white suit asked if they could talk for a while, and one of the guys asked who this girl is. The second one replied that he didn't know. She didn't look like a student, but she was young for a teacher. The girl remained silent. She looked at the badge and asked, "Student Kang Hayek can tell what's going on." He started to speak, but the big guy interrupted and told the girl not to interfere where she shouldn't. They had business with him. She asked again, what business did such thugs have with a mutilated student? The tall guy grinned. Does she have no brains or fear? Let her leave while they talk to her kindly. The woman answered okay and took the phone. Called and said that she was on the road behind the second-year building. Let them come quickly. They're suspicious people here. The guys rushed towards her and shouted that they needed to take away the phone. King Hayes was about to stretch out his hand and ask them to stop, when suddenly the guys flew back past him. They landed on the stone wall behind him. He turned around and couldn't believe his eyes. The tall burly guy became nervous, as if something seemed strange to him. Is this girl a merman? Kang Hai asked Mirman. The woman stood in front of a crowd of guys. She lowered her hand and said that this was an ordinary school. Let them stop making noise. One of the guys clenched his teeth. The tall guy blocked him with his hand and asked him to wait. The bully said, the clan to which this school belongs. Is it really the head of the Kangsira clan? In front of them, the school children exclaimed in surprise. King Hae thought, clan head, what are they even about? The woman said that since everyone now knows her name, there is no need to introduce herself, right? She commanded them to follow her. Kangsara would like to hear about what happened in a more suitable place. The guys looked at each other. One of them put his hand in his pocket. Kangsara turned around. One of them threw something at her, but she managed to hide behind her bag. Smoke formed around her. Everyone was surprised. Kang Hai shouted, is this really an explosion? The tall schoolboy grabbed him by the shirt and they started running. The woman waved her bag at the smoke and said that the Lucianus hoped to escape using such a cheap trick. Suddenly she felt unwell. She blushed and wondered was there a scent of soul charm in the smoke screen. She shifted her gaze, took the phone and called someone, saying that the intruders had taken first your student Kang Hawaii hostage and escaped. They used a hidden attack weapon in which the scent of soul charm was mixed in. It seems to her that things are taking a serious turn. She asked to gather all human resources and search the school. At this time, the school children were talking. One of them said it's surprising that they came across Kang. Sir, will everything be okay? He even threw a sneak attack weapon at her. The other guy replied that he didn't know, he just needed to quickly find the information and get out of there. The tall bully said, "Be that as it may, since this is the case," he turned to Kang Haidu and said that he wanted to listen to him. The schoolboy looked at him point blank and asked, "Did he see lynching where?" King Hagi stuttered and asked why he was asking. The guy leaned over and said threateningly that he shouldn't care. King Hayes has spoken, then he won't say anything either. It's the student asked again. What did he say? King Hayes said that this is not fair. They only find out what they need. In fact, he also has a lot of questions, and he offered to exchange information the school. Boy grinned. He thought that the guy had little, but it turns out he didn't. Kang Hai blushed, and then a strong blow hit the wall near his head. The schoolboy asked if he wanted to go to the next world. His fist left a dent on the wall. Kang Hai thought that he couldn't stop being amazed in such a situation. On the contrary, his soul should become calmer. He became nervous and said that lynching would die and they would not hear anything from him. The dark-skinned guy asked him what he was saying. The guy with glasses took him by the shoulder and said that there was no time. How long was he going to stand? He turned to Kang Haiji and asked what he wanted to know. Kang Hagi asked why they were chasing Lee Sion. The guy replied, "It can be said that the Sun Wu clan has been practically sealed recently. However, the head of the clan began to act, and it is clear that they became interested." King Hagi asked what they were talking about. Who is the Sun Wu clan, and its head? A guy with long hair intervened in the conversation and said that this schoolboy was an ordinary person. The guy with glasses scratched his head right in general. Like Chung Yang is a very important figure in Miram, so they are looking for him. King Hei asked again, "What is Miram?" The guy stared at him in silence. The dark-skinned guy couldn't stand it and shouted, "Are they in class now? How many times should I tell him again?" The guy with glasses blocked his way with his hand and said, "We can assume that we are destroying this society with different values than ordinary people. Is he now happy?" King Hadley asked what values they were talking about. The dark-skinned guy got angry and told his friend to move. He came close and put his hand on the wall, telling the guy to lay out everything he knew. He looked at him seriously and asked where his lynching now. Shanghai became nervous suddenly. Lias Young appeared next to them and asked for what purpose they were interested. The guy shuddered. They all jumped back quickly. Kang Haiti thought, where did he come from? He didn't even feel his presence. Like Shine addressed the hooligans. Who are they? King Hei thought that he was definitely not a ghost. Like Shine asked why they were looking for him. The guys began to retreat back. Then he said that he was warning them not to hope to escape. There was a terrifying silence. The guy shouted that they were jumping and then suddenly rose into the air. King Huggy looked up at the sky in surprise. Did they take off? Did Lynching see it too? He turned back to the guy, but he was no longer there. Suddenly, King Heiji heard the sounds of blows above him. He raised his head and saw how Lysion dealt with the guys in the sky. They all fell to the ground. They screamed in pain. Kang Heiwei opened his mouth in surprise, while Lysion was completely calm and looked calmly. Then Kang Heiyi thought, is he really a ghost? One of the guys shouted, what is he doing? I decided to kill them. What is their fault? Then, like Shangyan said that they threw a hidden attack weapon at the head of the clan and threatened an ordinary schoolboy. He took out his phone and added and they thoughtlessly revealed information about Miriam to the common man. Is there still a need for arguments? The guys were sweating and silently looked at each other. Lynching added, why are they chasing him? Let them tell you later. He told someone on the phone that they were not far from the sports equipment warehouse and thanked them. King Hedergi was silent. Li Song turned to him and told him to follow him. He turned around and looked at the guys, asking what would happen to these students. When the police suddenly came to pick up the hooligans, Li Song told Kang Hade not to get in the way and follow him. They walked in. Kang Hayes looked at his back and thought, who is he really? At that moment the guy looked scary. Suddenly Lynching asked him, did he see that everything ends when the conversation turns to him, so let him not contact him anymore? Kang Hai looked at him in surprise and said he is a good person, and says that because he is worried about him. Kang Hayes, mild by the way, did he also figure it out about Jin Hyun? He became curious about what had happened and went to his class, but was so surprised when he found out that like Zheng had not appeared at school for a long time. What did he do now? Is it some kind of supernatural ability? The guy was silent and Kang Heye kept asking questions. Is he also a so-called merman? Lecturing abruptly interrupted him. He said that his warning was not a joke, he would make a mistake and might die. Kang Hei replied that he didn't care. He wanted to say goodbye to his life today, but he survived thanks to him. He will consider the remaining days as something like a bonus. He was too unhappy and believed that people mocked him and hated him. Because of these thoughts, he constantly fell into despair and therefore went to the roof. But after he woke up in the first aid post, the world began to feel completely different. He saw that not everyone here was his enemy. Moreover, the head woman today went against Kim Yoon-ho and stood up for him. Then he realized that his vision was distorted due to Kim Yoon-ho's constant bullying. He is grateful to like Flak Chung because he helped him realize a lot. If he died without knowing the truth, it would be very unfair. Lynching remained silent and told him to go back to school. The lesson had probably already started. King Haegi smiled, bowed and said that he was leaving. Lee Simon paused for a moment and asked why he was still here. Kang Hai turned to him and took out his phone, asking, "Can I have his number?" Lynching turned back angrily and said that apparently it was impossible. Kang Hai waved his hand and shouted that he would take everything that happened today to his grave. He watched a lot of movies. Kang Sara approached Lysian and said that despite the situation Kang Hayes found himself in, he looked quite energetic. Like Shang turned his head and asked how she was feeling. The woman replied that she was fine, just paralyzed for a while. Like Shang said that the intruders were carrying out orders from the Miram Special Forces Department. He asked for forgiveness and said that it was all because of him. King Sarah shook her head and said that he had nothing to apologize for. She made a mistake by allowing suspicious individuals to enter the school grounds. However, it seems to her that he had no need to interfere. Like Shang wondered if it bothered her that he helped that guy. Tang Sierra said that she understands his feelings well. She is worried that today is the day of the meeting with the elder ghost doctor. A black car drove up to the school. The door swung open and a man with a beard and a hat emerged. The old man asked how the head of the Sunu clan was doing. "Is everything okay?" King Sierra replied that it seemed like he had complications, but he didn't show it. They walked along the road. She carried his bag. The phantom doctor replied of course he still experienced this. King Sarah said that she was worried whether the cultivation process could be carried out while he was in this state. The old man asked, "Is she worried about Chuck Fima?" He wandered here and there for a long time, and given this condition, if he were an ordinary person, he would have broken down a long time ago. Although this rascal head of the Samwoo clan is not like that, the man adjusted these glasses and smiled. He was a monster even before he rose to his current level. King Sarah added, but still from the point of common sense. The old man interrupted and said that you need to trust him. The head doctor of the Hongin Clinic and not common sense. After all, everything has already gone beyond the common sense of Miriam. They approached some building. The door swung open and Lynching appeared from there and said, "Welcome, elder." The old man was silent for a moment, then came up and patted the guy on the shoulder and said that it was amazing how he had grown during the time they had not seen each other. "So what are they going to do today?" He walked through the door while the school bell rang. The class was noisy. Someone suggested, "Going to eat noodles at an internet cafe." He was told that Lynching would miss the course and today he would be dead. Kang Yun-ho looked at Kang Hai angrily. His friend called him to leave. They left the class. Kang Hae sat at his desk and thought he knew that they would just leave today. He became quiet after meeting Junho Hyun, which means something clearly happened, but this is understandable. If like Chung says even a word, anyone will be scared. By the way, who is Merman? If you search on the internet, the only things that come up are movies and books. It didn't seem to him that like Chung was somehow involved in this absurdity, and would he even be able to meet him again? It would be nice. Like she looks scary, but then again, he is so cool. Suddenly, he noticed that someone stopped in front of him. He was Kim Yoon-ho. He asked the freak, "Did you think he would just leave?" He smiled evilly. Kung Hagabol became nervous at this time. King Sarah was very surprised. The old man replied that there is nothing to be surprised about. He agrees. There are too many needles. Everything is fine. He washed his hands. Kung Sarsa said if she didn't know that he was the best doctor in Miram, no one would have considered this as treatment. The old man laughed, but she was probably right. He wiped his hands and said that however, he could promise with confidence that if the people in Miram found out about what was happening here, their expressions would be worse than hers. Like Shine sat in front of them in a meditation position, covered in needles. Meanwhile, Kim Yoon-ho hit Kang Hae in the stomach and said what kind of trick did he pull off on the sly. One of the guys turned to Kim Yoon-ho and said that Jin Hyun told him not to touch him. Chung Yan turned around. He shouted at him to go to hell and hit him again. This idiot should be grateful for the fact that he treats him normally. He started beating him and shouting. Why was he telling him what to do? The guys began to pull him away and say that everything can be solved with words. Shankai stood up. Blood was flowing from his nose. He thought Kim Yoon-ho wouldn't listen to anyone. He knew it. Nothing had changed. Kang Hae gritted his teeth, so he must change. He stood up and struck Kim Yoon-ho, telling the guy to attack. Chung Ye thought that he had started a new life after almost dying recently. From now on, he will not grovel. For someone like him, Kim Yoon-ho's eye twitched. He smiled terribly and said that the guy had gone crazy. Meanwhile, the Phantom Doctor said that in Miriam, the spiritual bonds between student and teacher are much more important than blood. Is it normal to try to kill the student himself? Kang Separate turned to the elder, saying that the head of the Sungu clan only wanted to report on the actions of the Myram Special Forces Division. The old man said that he got a little excited again. This Kumon Ren, as soon as they talk about him, their motives are clear to him. After all, Life Young is a student of Kumon Ren, so don't mess with him, he is not like them. The guy replied that he would remember, then he turned around. Kang Surfei asked him what it was. He scratched his head and replied that he just felt some kind of disturbing energy. The old man asked what energy Like Shang was talking about. He didn't feel anything. Kang Sira said, frankly speaking, Like Chung has recently felt an unattainable noise or energy. He felt the energy of a student who was about to jump off the roof and save the guy. The ghost doctor thought maybe this is also in the process of improvement. Like Chink addressed him. Could the elder spare some time for him? A little later, Like Chung Yan found the main character in the slums. The old man said he couldn't believe it. Could he really feel the energy from there? If so, it greatly exceeded his expectations. Lynching became nervous, looking at the beaten. The woman said this student, the Phantom Doctor, asked her, does she know him? King Sierra replied that this was the same high school student who was saved by leeching. The guy leaned over Kang Haley and shouted for the woman to call an ambulance. He was in critical condition. She grabbed the phone and said that she understood. The old man approached the guy and asked him to step aside. King Sarah turned to Li Cheng. Wanted to say that the doctors would arrive soon. She looked at him. Despair was visible on his face. She said that this happened between ordinary people. And besides, they met for the first time today. The guy interrupted her and said that he knows what state he is in now. If you leave him here, he will 100% die. Does she want him to deliberately pass by? King Sarah shouted that the mere men should not interfere. Then Kang Hea woke up and looked at Li Song, saying that they had met again. This time he didn't just allow himself to be beaten, he also hit once Leeching rushed towards him, but he lost consciousness. The old man said that his life is not in danger. He provided first aid, while Vedbi. I only recently came to my senses. What happened that he was so joyful? Like Chung Yan frowned. Sometime later, Kang Hagi woke up in the ward. He asked where he was. Suddenly he heard a voice turned his head. Li Seung was sitting next to them. Kang Hago tried to get up and asked what he was doing. He was in pain. Li Song stood up and told him not to overexert himself. The doctor just left. He turned his head. Kang Hae laughed and said no matter how happy he was. Of course he was worried when he first opened his eyes, but it turns out that he didn't dream about their meeting. By the way, why does he keep appearing and saving him? Is he stalking him or something? Leeching paused. He asked Kang, hey, does he still want to become stronger? The schoolboy's eyes opened wide. Could he really help him? Like Chung Yan said that he had to keep everything secret. Kang Haeti shouted that he would save, he was ready to do anything, just to become as strong as him, like shining through the phone on the bed. He said that now he will use this to communicate. There are written basic exercises that he must do every day. Let him start from tomorrow. King Hea asked, have you been in this condition since tomorrow? Bleaching said he would do anything. Kang Hae swallowed his saliva. Yes, he spoke. The guy promised that if he listened to him, he would become stronger and let him not forget to call home. His family will probably worry. So don't let him say that he is in the hospital. Kang Hayes smiled and said that everything is fine. He lives alone with his mother. She comes home from work late at night, so she often doesn't know whether he's in the room or not. Like she told him to call anyway and slam the door. King Hae looked at the phone and thought, will he really become stronger if he just does as lesbian? Says we need to see what kind of basic exercises are. His eyes widened. The daily goal was written on the phone screen. 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 500 squats, run 30 kilometers. He exclaimed, what is this? Are these basic exercises for the day? This is a joke, right? He needs to call Lynching right now. He began to dial the number in his contacts, but it didn't turn up. He fell on the bed, saying that he didn't know why what happened today seemed so unrealistic. If only everything wouldn't turn out to be a dream in the morning. He closed his eyes. The next morning, he looked in the mirror and asked himself, are you sure he's not sleeping? How did his skin and abrasions disappear in just one night? There was no living placed on it yesterday, and where is it? Anyway, the hospital room doesn't look cheap. I wonder if they'll come up with a big bill later. A voice from behind him said that there was no need to worry about it. Kang Haley was scared. He turned around and asked who was there. It was King Sierra. He wondered if she was the one he saw at school yesterday. The woman lifted his chin and said that the skill of Elder Phantom Doctor was on his face. She leaned so close that Kang Hei blushed. He asked again, Phantom who? King Sarah replied that it doesn't matter. It's better to discuss something else. She heard that he was being abused at school. They will decide everything right now. She headed towards the window. To prevent this from happening again, they will appoint a responsible teacher and pay a stipend every quarter. She asked how he likes these conditions. Kang Yan refused. He asked if in return she would ask him not to cross paths with Lishan again. King Sarah glared at him. He asked, is she also a merman like Shine, right? He doesn't know what the reason is, but he's sure she wants him to leave lynching alone. She doesn't like them. Seeing each other, Kang Sarah said that he was quick-witted, and at that very moment he found himself above the floor. She grabbed him and threw him to the ground, pinning him with her body. She squeezed his shirt and looked at him contemptuously and asked, how can he do this? Let him think well and answer. This may be his last chance. Kang Hagi gasped and said, considering the methods she uses, he no longer wants to agree. She squeezed the shirt even tighter against his throat so that the fabric could be heard crunching, and asked if he thought she was joking. In 30 seconds, he will die. Kang Hayek coughed and told her to do whatever she wanted. If not for Elysian, he would already be dead. He will no longer live. Under the pressure of other people, Tang Sierra doubted she let go of the shirt. Kang Hai fell on the bed and coughed. She said that now, like Shine was worried, she got up from the bed and picked up her bag. King Sarah handed him the box and envelope and told him to take it. King Hei took it in his hands and asked what it was. King Sarah replied that these were nutritional supplements and a pass to the fitness center closest to his home. Then he thought about it and asked how she knew where he lived. King Sarah replied that Li Song is an important person in their world. King Hare was confused and asked if by their world she means Miram. Kang Sora replied so if Li Xiong ends up in danger because of him, the guy won't get away with simple threats. Her cold gaze sent shivers down his spine. He thought that this woman was certainly beautiful but too creepy. King Heiyi walked out of the hospital and took out his phone. Okay, now what should he do with it? He looked at the training schedule like Shang said to start today, but he would never be able to. Suddenly he received a call standing in the library. BCC on asked. Kang Hyun has already left the hospital, right? King Haley replied that he had just checked out the guy, told him to then go to the exercises he wrote. When he finishes, let him send an essence message about how much he managed to do. Kang Hai began to sweat and shouted for Li Sang to wait. He can barely do one pull-up, but he asks him to do as many as 100 pull-ups. Like Shang said then, he should repeat it 100 times. King Haie asked again what then to do with push-ups and other exercises, like she replied that he should repeat them as well until he had completed the specified amount. King Haeam asked if it would be right to train like this. It doesn't sound very smart. The guy noticed that everything was fine and asked if Kang Saira gave him the miracle pills. King Haya clarified. Does he need food additives or what? This is in his backpack. The guy told him to take one every day after training. He has half a month to learn how to do all the exercises in a day. King Hei asked again. Half a month? What if he doesn't succeed? Lynching replied that then his acquaintance with him would come to an end, saying how you got worried, but the guy hung up all in one day. No matter how much you think it's too much. He put the phone in his backpack. Okay, we need to try it first. He pulled out the pass to the fitness center that Kang Sierra was talking about, looked at it and remained silent. King, how you got to this center, and standing in front of it said he was confused. By the signs he knew that something like this would happen. He went inside. There were many men there doing exercises. Kang Hayes looked at them and thought, well, the situation here, he was nervous. I need to find a place where I can calmly study alone. And I quietly walked deeper into the hall and one of the men holding a dumbbell noticed Kang Hayes, who was doing push-ups, and was shaking all over. He said 70 and fell to the floor, exclaiming that he couldn't do it anymore. The man came up to him and asked if he had been doing push-ups for over an hour. Was this his first time in training? Kaum Hyuk caught his breath heavily and said that he needs to do 200 push-ups today. The man told him not to overdo it and warm up better. Otherwise, tomorrow he will suffer from muscle pain. Kang Hagi thanked him for the advice, but his teacher punished him that way. The man was embarrassed and said what kind of coach would be so ridiculous. Another man came up to him from behind and told him to stop. Kang Hai Yi trembled and shook as he recited the number of push-ups, 7475 times. The man told him to leave the boy. He will understand his mistake tomorrow when he gets sick. King Hagi came home and fell on the bed. He said that he was dying. He tried so hard but he couldn't even do half of it. Will he succeed in half a month? He looked at the number of exercises. Everything seemed hopeless. Should he just give up? Suddenly, he received a message. Paying, Hayes shuddered. Lee Sioran wrote to him and asked if he had a good workout. That's right. He asked me to write. When Kang Haedi finished, he replied that he couldn't even do half of it. Like Chung wrote that this is quite normal for the first day. Let him try again tomorrow. He wished him good night, and reminded him not to forget to take the miracle pill. King Heye asked, "A miracle pill?" As if the woman had handed him nutritional supplements, he opened the box. There were round sweets inside. "It looks impressive." Kang Hei sniffed and said that it smelled like some kind of Chinese medicine. "Are you sure everything will be fine with him?" "Okay, if like Chung said to take it, then it's no big deal. He probably tried one pill." To quickly dissolved, he asked what it was. "As soon as I put the pill in my mouth, it immediately melted." He got out of bed. "No matter, it's time to wash up." Suddenly something shot through his head, and he fell on the bed. God, he needed to go to the shower. He woke up in the morning when the time had already passed. How did he manage to sleep so much? Well, it's okay, he'll go and wash himself. Finally Yu Kang Heiji opened the door. He began to take off his clothes and looked at himself in the mirror, saying, "Does it seem to him, or have his muscles grown a little?" He remained silent and got into the shower, saying, "This can't be true, what kind of muscles?" In one day he was doing push-ups in the hall, saying 7172. 73 yesterday's men looked at him stunned. One of them asked, "Didn't that guy leave here late yesterday?" The second one answered, "They say he trained before closing." The man bowed his head in bewilderment. "And doesn't he have any pain after yesterday?" The man replied that this is possible because he is still young. The consequences may affect tomorrow. Peng Hegi panted heavily. After a while, he was again in the hall. The men looked at him and one of them asked how many days had passed. The second one answered that about 2 weeks. The men agreed with each other that this was strange. Maybe I could ask what he was taking. Of course interest creeps in. How can you get so pumped up in half a month? Tang Hai had already lifted the barbell. 47 times he caught his breath and laid down on the floor. He raised his fist and shouted that he did it. "You need to write to Like Shine." He wrote that he finally fulfilled his goal. Leaving the hall, he said that he was tired. Maybe he was too exhausted, because today was the last day. A message came to his phone. Lejian wrote that he was great. He knew that he would succeed. And in honor of this, he would give him a gift. Let him go to him. Lejian next to the Gangnam subway station. Teng Hadi asked, "Is it a gift?" He looked at the transport schedule. There was a bus going there. But should he go right now? Of course he went to the shower. But maybe he should run home first and change clothes. Suddenly someone turned to him, a girl with short hair. And red hair asked him to stop. He thought, who was she? Some kind of celebrity? I wonder who she's calling. The girl demanded that he not turn away. She pointed her finger at him and said that she was addressing him. King Hegi couldn't believe his ears, and asked him again. They looked at each other. His heart began to beat. Why did he interest her? The girl asked if he knew Like Chungyun, saying how you shuddered. She said that she was aware of all the events, so let him not try to get out. King Heiju pointed his finger back and exclaimed when he saw something there. The girl turned around. There was a cat sitting on the fence. She was touched and suddenly turned back sharply, but the bus with Kang Hegvi had already left. She got angry and said irritably, "Look at him in an instant." The girl jumped on the bus. Kang Hayes sat down and looked out the window warily. Thank God, the bus arrived on time. He was terrified when he heard about Like Shine, but if he thought about it, there was no need to run away, was there? The girl entered the bus through the window, while he thought that since she asked about Like Shang, she was also a merman. But what does this merman mean? No matter how much he searched, he couldn't find anything useful, so he took out his phone when suddenly a hand snatched it from him. It was that girl, King Hare exclaimed. He didn't see her get on the bus. She looked at the phone. Why was he so surprised, and asked, "Is he an ordinary person?" It's strange that her intuition failed her. She was sure. A message came to the phone saying Monte Carlo Boutique, Sacho District, Sacho Ave. Here is the address. Let the 208X come. The girl said Like Shang is where he is. She exclaimed that she would borrow his phone for a while and got off the bus. Kang Haga ran out after her and told her to give it in good faith. Otherwise, he would take it away by force. She waved the phone teasing him and told him to try it. King Haikit got angry. Who does she take for a moron? No matter how frail he is a man. Moreover, recently he had been training like crazy. He rushed at her, thinking that he didn't know who they were in Miram, but it couldn't be that he couldn't handle some girl. The girl grabbed his hand so that a crunch was heard. He screamed in pain and thought that apparently he could. She saw the energy that came from his hand. She instantly let go of his hand and asked who he was. He is not an ordinary person, right? Where does he have so much energy? Teng Hege said that he doesn't know what she's talking about. He just wants her to return the phone. She said, wondering if it was really him, and grabbed his hand and pulled him along. They arrived at Gangnam subway station, entering the Monte Carlo boutique. Kang Haye asked where they were going. The girl replied that to Lisa Yang. Of course. Kang Hayes said that he is a dangerous person. She doesn't know what if she crosses his path. The girl smiled evilly. That's how well. Then she's looking forward to it. Kang Hayes said that he was not joking. Let her return the phone. Then the elevator opened, and Lei Xian stood in front of them. Kang Haiwei wanted to tell him something, when suddenly the girl hit Li Song with both legs. He blocked her blow, then she turned in the air and struck again. Kang Hayes exclaimed, "What's going on here? Is this even possible? Why is she so fast?" Moreover, like Chung can't even do anything. Then he noticed an umbrella standing nearby, and thought that he should help. He clutched the umbrella in his hands, but a lightning strike destroyed it. The girl angrily told him not to interfere, otherwise she would kill him, like she addressed her as Jenny, and asked what came over her, and why they came together. Kang Hagi asked if they knew each other. The girl asked him if he gave life pills to Talent. All Hagi thought, what kind of pills are these? She shouted so that Like Shine would not try to fool her. She had seen their correspondence, that medicine was meant for him, so why did he do that? Like Shine tried to calm her down and said that he would answer all the questions, but they should talk a little later. His guest is very awkward right now. She looked at him angrily and said that they would talk later. Kang Haley turned to her and asked her to return the phone. The girl threw it to him and went into the elevator. Tang Hagi thought that it would be better if she warned before throwing. He almost missed it and turned to him and asked if he was a little surprised at the sudden commotion. Kang Hai said that his friend was probably uncomfortable, and it would be better if he came later. But Leishan assured that everything was fine and he had nothing to do with it. Although the main character didn't think so, he invited him to come in and asked if he wanted something to drink. King Hayes asked for water. Li Xiang noticed that Kang Hayes had more or less weakened since the last meeting. He replied that he simply did what he said. They sat opposite each other and Kang Hage asked who is a merman. Li Song shuddered. Kang Hei continued, as he realized that this was an unusual person. That woman that he was like Shine frowned and apologized, and said that it was forbidden to reveal information about Miriam to ordinary people. Kang Hegi asked, then why is he helping him? If there is such a ban, then you can't help him. He already owes a lot, why quarrel with his girlfriend? Because he helps, he doesn't want to put him in a difficult position. Kang Hegi put the phone on the table and said that if this help is harmful to him, he should please stop helping. Like Chung raised his glass and said Miriam is a world of people with different values. The reality is that everyone is forced to hide their true colors and follow the rules impeccably. King Hayes asked again, but why do they need to hide? Like Shung replied that ordinary people will not accept their rules. Can he understand a society that justifies murder and violence? This is what Miriam is like. They don't condemn murder or violence, so it's better for ordinary people never to be interested in this in their lives. Kang Hai shuddered and thought. At some point Li Song became so creepy. Li Sung stood up and said that the conversation was over, he needed to start treatment. Kang Heg objected that he was not sick. With anything but Liz Young said that from the point of view of modern medicine, his life was not in danger, but after treatment, he would find out in which body he had lived his whole life. Let him slowly take a deep breath. Kang Hage obeyed, sighed, and then exhaled. He breathed slowly, while Lice Young sat against his back. He thought, why is he doing this? For what? Like Chung Yang asked him not to talk or be distracted by extraneous things. He leaned his hands against Kang Hatchback. The young man thought that warmth was spreading through his body, and he also seemed to find peace. Suddenly there was a noise. He thought how long he had been here. Had he really fallen asleep in this position? Suddenly, he felt chains on his neck. He woke up. Several men were in the room and stood opposite a girl with a short haircut. She asked if they were definitely from Miriam, and what are they doing with a person who circulates energy? The man squeezed tighter and said that she should get out of the way, otherwise she would break her neck. He now remembered the words that Miriam does not despise violence. He thought, let them not make him laugh. The man turned to him and told him not to do anything stupid, he wouldn't die, so he took it and broke the chain. The man shouted that they would kill him and let her disappear from here alive. The girl screamed, wondering what they were doing to the person who was now circulating energy. Are they really from Miriam? Tang Hai turned pale. What is she talking about? The man tightened the chain and shouted at her to get out of the way or he would break his neck. Kung Hagath thought, what's going on? He remembered like Chung's words about what Miriam is, but don't make him laugh. The attacker demanded that he not twitch if he did something stupid. Kung Hanako offed. Could he really die like that? And gathered his strength and broke the chain. He looked at it in surprise and thought. The chain was definitely made of steel. How did he manage to break it? The man asked him how he did it. King Howie thought that he didn't understand anything, but he had to leave. He sharply moved away from the man who commanded to grab him. One of the enemies swung a bat. Kang Haili turned his head and thought, had he really dodged the blow? A man in glasses and a mask reached out his hand to his head and was about to grab it, but Kang Haili felt it and speed up and thought, what's going on? He didn't even turn around. Another man wanted to attack and hit him with his knee from the side. His leg was already in his face, and Kang Haili thought that he could no longer avoid this. When suddenly the girl parried the blow, she saved him. He turned around. She hit one of the attackers. On the face with her knee, he flew into the wall. The girl dealt with them one after another. Kang Haili thought before he could blink an eye. How did she kill the three of them? She moved much faster than during the fight with lynching. He looked at the girl. One of the bandits was conscious. She kicked him and asked who they were. Do they understand where they are? King Haili turned to her, them behind, and asked her to wait. He said that he understood how angry she was, but shouldn't they call the police? She started shouting at him. Who calls the cops because of the Miram showdown? Does he really not know the basics? Miram and the ordinary world do not interfere in each other's affairs. Tang He looked at her in surprise. The bandit laughed. Is it really so bad? Of the clan that they have to rely on the police? The girl clenched her teeth and said, so they're here for a reason. The man replied that they wanted to make sure that the head of the Sonu clan was not here, but they did not imagine that someone else might be hanging around here. Kang Haili thought, the head of the Sun Moon clan, does he mean leeching? The girl spoke. She asks for the last time. Who they are, what do they want? The man laughed. Did she want him to share something interesting? The head of the clan will die soon. She was very surprised and asked that he couldn't come up with anything smarter. Kang Haili thought Lucian would die. He turned his attention to the door and heard footsteps. He shouted that someone was coming up the stairs. She asked who it was. Kang Haili tried to explain, but he himself didn't know. He feels a crowd of people running up the stairs. The kidnapper said this boy has good recognition skills. Everything is true. As he said, they intended to reconnoiter the situation, but a problem arose. So now reinforcements of several dozen people are coming to them. So if they don't want to be seriously injured, they need to give up. The girl hit him with all her might. The man lost consciousness. King He asked her why she was so cruel to him. She replied that there was nothing more to listen to. She would go and check it herself. The girl took the phone. It showed that there was no network. She asked why there was no connection. King Henry's phone showed the same thing. She shouted at him to pack these things and get dressed. He needs to leave here. He asked her to wait. Holding the helmet in his hands, he asked if they would go down by elevator. The girl answered, does he really think there is no one there? And she ordered to follow her. The door opened and a crowd of men appeared in the room. One of them looked at the three lying guys and said what happened to them. They found themselves unconscious. The man ordered everyone to look for the fugitives. Since their enemy is the Sun Wu clan, they should not be allowed to leave the building. One of the men called the boss to come up to him. There was an open hatch on the floor. Was this really an emergency exit? The girl and Kang Haili were going down the stairs. She asked, is the phone still not picking up the network? He replied that no, it was useless. Are all the repeaters broken? He nervously asked her what was happening and who these people were. She replied that how could she know? Lynching asked to give him a ride home when he woke up. She waited, but then those freaks burst in. King Haili asked what about Li Song, where did he go, and what did the words mean that he would die? Soon the girl replied that no idea. You first need to find a place where the connection is made and contact election. She brought him her phone and told him to write down this number just in case. King Haili asked whose is this? She replied that this was the number of one of the members of the Sunu clan. You never know what could happen. Maybe he could get in touch faster than her. He wrote down the number and looked to the side, wondering if this was by any chance a death flag that is used in movies or something like that. She asked why he was standing there. Did he write down the number? King Haili nodded. No, that can't be the case. She said that she would go and start the motorcycle and let him follow her down as quickly as possible and go to the second floor of the underground parking lot. He said but they can go together. Suddenly the girl began to move up the stairs and jumps. Kang Haili was very surprised. She disappeared literally in an instant. King Haili thought dumbfounded, is everyone in Miram like this? By the way, it seems that something changed after he woke up. The chain broke, and some kind of wonderful ability appeared. I wonder if he can do the same. He bent down and looked at the stairs, but nothing happened. She shouted from below, what is he doing? Let him go quickly. King Haili was frightened by this scream and began to quickly go down the stairs, saying that he was coming. He seems completely out of his mind. What was he thinking having reached the parking lot? He found it hard to catch his breath. It was even hard for him to go down the stairs. He opened the door and said that he apologized for taking so long. A scene opened before him of a girl single-handedly dealing with a crowd of men. Was she really surrounded? He saw that everything was fine. She was coping alone with the next blow. She knocked out one of the freaks. The men began to retreat. She looked at them angrily and said, "Won't they have enough, or do they want to die?" The men became nervous and began to retreat. Suddenly, a blade appeared in front of her face. A certain man with a chain in his nose asked, "Is she saying die?" He stood behind her and was very huge. Kang Hae was dumbfounded. Was it really a death flag? The man looked like a monster. Kang Hae thought how to be one. Now we need to do something to help her. But who should help whom? Here they are from Miram. If he interferes, they will immediately tear him to pieces. It would be better if they tried to escape. Suddenly he heard that someone was going down the stairs. Were there really enemies on the stairs? "You can't be here. You need to go down." Then lower. He was about to do this, but suddenly he noticed a hydrant on the side. People from Miriam were going down the stairs when they heard a siren. Was that the fire calling from where? "We need to check what's wrong." Everyone rushed to check. The man ordered the girl not to move and pressed his blade to her throat. He said that he was acting against her will. Let her help a little. King Hayek took cover behind one of the cars. He thought, has he gone crazy, and what is he even doing? He's definitely not going to help anyone. If he dies here, why can't he just run away? Be that as it may, the girl's skills are simply magnificent. Therefore, if he distracts a guy with a knife in his hand for a while, he swung his helmet. The guy immediately turned around. Feelings and asked who else is he. King Haley gritted his teeth. They noticed him and began to ask how he ended up there and who he even was. He thought that he was finished, but it was not. He threw his helmet and shouted for the girl to run. The guy said what idiot wouldn't dodge this thing, but the helmet just flew into his face. He flew back and landed on the car. He said freak, apparently internal energy, when suddenly the girl gave him another kick. The men exclaimed. Captain Kang Hae fell into a stupor. Then it was the same in the apartment. It was as if he had gained some incredible power. The girl climbed onto the bike and signaled to him that he should jump on faster. Kang Hae sat down and thought about what he should hold on to. She screamed at him to grab his belt, then he hugged her. Embarrassed. They began to drive away. Then the men shouted that they needed to be stopped. They noisily flew out of the underground parking lot. Kang Hae grabbed onto her and asked her not to drive so fast. She shouted that now was not the time to relax. Memeology, one of the 4 supernova was coming after them. He obeys the person like Chung Yan was supposed to meet today. King Huggy asked then the words about Leo's young dying were true. She shouted that this was why they needed to hurry. Kang Hae told them to go faster, but the girls suddenly braked and said that enough was enough, they wouldn't track them down. Let him wait 5 seconds and she will call like Chung and find out. There he is. The phone rang and the contact for an incoming call from Quan Jenny appeared on the screen like Shine reached for it. But suddenly a man in a black suit appeared and asked, is he the head of the Sun Wu clan? They will escort him to the elder, let him follow them. He extended his hand, could the head trust them with the phone? At this time, Quan Jenny and Kang Hae could not get through. King Hae asked if he takes it, there may be something serious, you need to ask the Sunu clan. The girl replied that they did not know, like Shane kept everything a secret from the clan and decided to act alone. Kang Hae asked again, then he's in serious danger, isn't he? The girl told him not to interfere, to take a taxi and go home. Kang Hae asked but why he can help. She replied that this was a Miram showdown, and like Shang Yan said, not to involve him under any circumstances. She thanked him and got on the bike for saving her in the parking lot. He looked cooler than most mermen. She started the bike and said that today he was lucky, but in the future he shouldn't think about interfering in Miriam's affairs. He wanted to tell her something, but she left. He thought that it still seemed like this was the wrong decision, although he didn't even know how he could help. Suddenly, he heard the roar of engines. A large crowd of men were riding motorcycles. One of them looked to the side and ordinary passers-by noticed them. Kang Hae stopped. Why are they coming back? Is it because of him? He began to leave the street. The motorcycle stopped. The men began to ask what happened to the captain. He stood up and told them to wait for him here. This is not certain, but it seemed to him that he saw that freak out of the corner of his eye. Tengai covered his mouth with his hands, hiding behind some kind of tank. The man began to move into the depths of the alley. King Hagi thought that he should not notice him. The man looked behind the trash can. King Hagi gritted his teeth and thought that he was finished. Someone from the gang turned to the captains, asking if there was anyone there. He said that it probably seemed to him. No matter, it looks like they missed them, there is no need to waste any more time, they need to leave. One of his subordinates said, are you sure? The captain replied that everything was fine. The Sunu clan doesn't act that easily. Although if they find out that the head of the clan is on the neon high-rise on Exim Dawn, then he won't even know they left. Kang Haoyi came out and thought, why did he pretend not to notice him and give away the location of Li Song? Whose side is he on? He said a high-rise building on Nexium. Dong, you need to call the number that Quan Jenny gave him. He wondered if this was a trap. It can't all be resolved that easily. How can it be X, and Dong is actually nearby? After some time. Kang, how you got there? He said as he running into another trouble. But this concerns like Shine, so perhaps we need to check. He pulled the handle of the front door, but it was closed. A security guard approached him and asked who was there. What's the guy doing here? King Hei replied that he was looking for one person, and the policeman asked who he was looking for at such a late hour. Chung Hye replied that this is a high school student, a little taller than him, and with a short haircut. He heard that he was here and came. The man was surprised and asked, is he accidentally talking about Lycan? Kang Hae was surprised. How did he understand? The man replied that he was here and pointed to the side. He immediately grabbed him by the throat and pressed him to the wall. Asking what and from whom did he hear? Kang Hae asked why he was doing this. The man angrily replied that he knew better about this. Let him answer how he found out about this place. He squeezed his throat. Kang Hae grabbed his hand and broke it. The man grabbed her and shouted. Kang Hae became nervous. He asked if he was okay. The man held his hand. Is he an unusual person? King Hae recoiled. Then he is also a merman. He started to run away. The man shouted for him to stay. But Kang Hae thought that maybe Lysion here needs to immediately report everything to the Sunlit clan. He grabbed the phone, but it exploded. A man in black approached him from behind and said that if Kang I doesn't stop, the next one will be his head. He was holding a blade in his hand. King Hae asked who he was. The man suddenly appeared behind him and asked in turn who he was and knocked the guy to the floor. He noticed that the guy doesn't know how to fall correctly. Maybe he's an ordinary person. The second man replied not to make him laugh. Didn't he see how this freak broke the guard's arm? Tang Hagi held his face and screamed in pain. The man said, look at him. Where will he find an ordinary person who will not pass out after such a blow? The man answered, and rightly so. King Hael asked why they were doing this and who were they anyway. One of the men pressed his head to the ground and said that if he wanted to pretend to be ordinary, he should at least hide his energy. The man said that enough useless talk. Who was he, and how did he find this place? Kung Hage asked Li Shan is here, right? Is he okay? Nothing happened. The man kicked him in the face and said that he was told to answer, not to ask questions. He grabbed the guy by the hair, sat down and asked again how he got here. King. My eye turned his head and said that they are freaks. If anything happens to him, he won't leave it like that. Suddenly, someone came up to them from behind and told them to stop. It was like Shine. He said that the guy was with him. The man immediately let go of Kang Halley's head, who asked Li Xiong if he was okay. He looked at him and remained silent. The men turned to him and asked why the head was not waiting at the place of negotiations. What was he doing here? Like Cheng said that he would first like to know why his comrade is in such a state. The man looked at the guy and said that they didn't know that this was his friend. They thought that only he and the elder would be at the meeting, so they didn't know about any comrades. Like Shine interrupted him and asked if the man really wanted to say that it was his fault. The man replied that this was not what he meant. Like Shine said that since he made a mistake, it should be considered that there were no negotiations. He turned to the guy and told him to get up. The man ran up to him and asked if the head was joking. The elder would arrive soon. The head himself called him, and now he's just leaving. Isn't he afraid of the consequences? Like Chung Yan said that, then they are not afraid of the consequences for what they did to his comrade. The man exhaled and said that Chief Sun who was funny. He knows that lynching was popular at one time, but he heard that after an unpleasant incident he became crippled. Does he really consider himself equal to the elder? A bunch of men ran towards them. Kang Heichi became nervous. He began to look around. Li Sheng said that nothing is impossible. The man grinned. Chief Sun who is satisfied, he needs to return to the place of negotiations. Otherwise everything could end badly. Like Shiny bowed his head and said that he came for the purpose of negotiations and not to hear threats addressed to him. However, Like Shine turned around. If they're running into a conflict, then he will not prevaricate. Are they sure of their choice? Then an elder appeared. It was an elderly man in a national costume. Next to him stood a tall girl with glasses. All the men immediately bowed their heads in front of him and shouted that they were greeting the elder. King Hegi thought that he was the dangerous person that Li Song was supposed to meet. Like Cheng looked at him intently, and the old man asked, "What does all this mean?" One of the men in black said that the head of the Sun Wu clan suddenly said that he was leaving. They tried to dissuade him. Kang Hae thought that in appearance, he was just a little old man. The elder remained silent, then looked at the guy and asked, "Who else is this?" The man replied that this was a comrade of the head of the Sunu clan. The elder said thoughtfully, "Strangely, the energy of Mirman emanates from him, but it seems that he is a simple boy. The power of Miriam has flowed to ordinary people, which must be strictly guarded, right?" Teng Hege thought about what he was talking about. He seemed to be addressing Li Song. Did he end up in an awkward position because of him? A man in black approached him and told Kang Hae to come with them. He extended his hand and said that he needed to check something. But before he could finish speaking, Li Xin threw him back. He hit his head on the ground with all his might. Everyone froze. Kang Hae wondered what suddenly happened to Lucian. He looked intimidating. The men began to shout what kind of tricks he was. Let him remember who he was in front of. They began to run towards him, when suddenly the elder ordered him to stop. What happened now? Did he really want to die? An incredible flow of energy emanated from the elder. Kang Hae noticed that he could not move. Lynching stood up and asked the elder where he really invited as a guest. If so, why does that man allow himself to beat his comrade? And showed disdain. What kind of ridiculous nagging on his part? The old man remained silent. Like Shine said that at their request he came alone, without the accompaniment of the Sunroof clan. But are they afraid of something since they brought so many people with them? Like Chung Yan frowned and said, asking was their plan to kidnap him. One of the men shouted that this was rude. He turned and said that apparently the elder had nothing to say. It seems his expectations were justified. He whispered to Kang Heist that as soon as the fight started, he would immediately run. Li Stan would try to attract their attention, and at that time he would get out of here. Kang Heist wondered if this was all his fault. How can Like Shine cope with so many people alone? The elder laughed and said that the guy has a lot of guts. He likes it. He said that there was a misunderstanding between them, and he asks for forgiveness for this. Later he will ask about what happened. He ordered everyone to leave. One man turned to him, but the old man shouted that he told him to leave. The men talked ate and began to disperse. The elder ordered them to follow him. It was time for a frank conversation. Like Shang said, asking for forgiveness that not today, it would be better for them to meet another time, he bowed. The short-haired woman turned around and said that the elder said to follow him silently. Li Qing remained silent. Suddenly the asphalt began to crack under the woman's feet. Like Chung Yan moved his hand away and asked what would happen if he refused. The woman replied that she would force her. She jumped up and kicked him. Kang Hai turned around and saw her beating Lia Xiong in the air. The guy barely dodged. Kang Hege asked what are they really fighting? Looked so unrealistic, but why can't he take his eyes off? And why does my heart jump out of my chest? The old man behind said that this is not bad. He copes so deftly with the peak level master, it turns out that he can be considered to have fully recovered from complications. Tang, how you got scared and thought Li Xin told him to run while he was distracting attention on himself, but he was too busy looking. He needed to get out urgently. He glanced furtively at the elder. The old man said palm. Let him extend his palm to him. The man extended his hand. Kang Haisis asked why is this necessary? The old man replied that something was bothering him. He took the guy by the hand and looked at him, asking what clan he was from. King He replied that he doesn't have one. The elder said that he knew so. Then he hit him in the stomach with his hand and said that he needed to destroy this energy. He hit him in the stomach and a light appeared inside Kang Hali's body. His eyes went blank and he began to scream. Li Qing heard this and rushed to help, but the old man noticed the movement and managed to dodge the guy's blow. Like Chung asked what the elder was doing, a woman appeared above his head. She raised her leg to strike and said what she wanted to say. Like Shine's eyes turned pale, he turned his head, grabbed her leg and threw her to the side. The woman flew back and crashed into the car. Li Xian's eyes were filled with rage. Steam was coming out of his mouth. He demanded to take Kang Hyun's hands off. The elder said that, how did he know that he was hiding his strength? King Heiji woke up. The elder said, it turns out he behaved so impudently because he relied on his strength. Li Qing replied that the elder was doing this because he disobeyed his order. King Hayes looked at Lei Shen. The elder said that this child is endowed with the power that an ordinary person should not have. Being a Miram elder, how can he allow such a thing? Lynching remained silent and told the elder to let him go, then he would accept his invitation. Suddenly, Kang Hai shouted that he should not go with him because the elder would kill him. There is no way you can follow him. Before you could finish speaking, the elder grabbed him by the throat and asked who he was. First he dared to illegally seize the power of Miriam, and then he even decided to spread nonsense. Shanghai barely spoke out, so that Li Song would not let himself be deceived. He heard everything that his subordinate said. The elder, squinting, asked what he heard there. Suddenly, he felt the presence of Li's Young behind him. Kang Hagi felt the blows on himself and thought what happened. Now? He looked up and saw the elder kick Lynching away. Kang He realized that he could not speak. Remove the elder turned to Lynching, asking why he was confused. He failed to take him by surprise, like she naked the elder what he did to the guy. He replied that there was nothing to worry about. He just pressed points A and MA so that the guy would calm down a little. Kang Hai thought .ma Lynching, asked why the old man shut his mouth. Is there something that doesn't suit him? The elder said that the guy was going too far, so he believes the boy's words. Does he think he's going to kill him? Lynching remained silent and added that at least he trusted him more than the elder. The old man narrowed his eyes. He laughed and said that his confidence was raging after the energy increased. Well, in that case, he will give a chance. The elder pulled his hands out of his clothes and went to meet him and told him to attack as much as he wanted. We need to see if he can break him and open up King Hei's. Point to back. King Heithi thought, what is he talking about? Are you planning to fight Li Ken? He was inimitable in the last battle. Is the elder even stronger? Like she went to meet him when suddenly a powerful blow followed. The elder attacked first. He said that it was a good Kigam Lynching. Began to strike one after another. The elder asked, is this the same shower of the Sun Wu clan? Hitting the wall, the shockwave threw the guy back. The elder asked if he really thought that such an attack would work, like she began to strike one after another using the same technique. Elder became angry. King Hayes just saw cars breaking down and he thought, what is it? He doesn't see what's going on at all. By the way, he is sure that Like Shine attacks skillfully. But then why does the elder look so carefree, as if this is not a fight, but some kind of joke? With one blow, the elder threw Lynching up. He grabbed his heart, when suddenly the elder's assistant kicked him in the face. She asked if he really wanted to die. One of the lenses of her glasses burst, blue eyes looked out from there. She said, how dare he? Kang Hai-hee thought that this was the same girl who fought with Lazy-on recently. The elder is already a difficult opponent. If she also interferes, then Like Shine will not even be able to move. The elder turned to her and told her to calm down, calling her chiefly. He still has to study and study. He will teach him everything gradually. What is it worth when it continue? Was it really after all that? The elder suddenly moved forward and was already near his face, but he didn't hit him, but asked was he scared. Kang Hagi thought, what happened? How did he instantly move such a distance? Chiefly thought the steps of a ghost. If you see such an elder's technique for the first time, you might think that it is some kind of magic. The old man and Latching looked at each other. The man removed his hand turned and said that he finally understood. Is his strength a mirage, judging from his previous battle? He only uses Sunu clan techniques. It is truly incredible. The speed that is inherent in the Sun Moon clan reached its limit with the arrival of Queen Yuju. But the problem is that the energy in his body was created using the technique of Black Heavens and Earth, where peace is important. Their techniques look so soft and slow, but inside, he raised his hand. A flow of energy formed from it. He said that a powerful force was hidden, like the one he had just shown. King Have thought what suddenly exploded. The old man said that the essence of martial arts is that you first accumulate energy through circulation and then use it in techniques. In other words, martial arts are formed through harmony energy. Circulation of techniques. No matter how excellent the energy circulation and techniques of Like Changyi are, if they are not combined with each other, then full-fledged martial arts will not work out. So most clans study circulation along with techniques like Sheng listened attentively and was silent. Kang Hai-hee thought that how strange all this was. Wasn't he going to kill him? The elder said that if he was interested in full-fledged martial arts, he should stop being stubborn and become his student. Kang Hae was surprised. What kind of student suddenly like Chung Yan looked sadly and said that he knew that his energy did not match with the Sun Wu clan's technique. The elder asked if he knows. Then why does he stubbornly continue to use it? Lynching replied that this is because he is the head of this clan and he cannot betray their techniques. The old man narrowed his eyes and lowered his head, saying, "You are a fool," you explained to him. Lai Xiong took a step forward and said that he should express gratitude for his advice. Chiefly opened her eyes wide. Kang Hai felt the blows, then he realized that he could move and speak. The path is one of the step techniques. He had already forgotten about it until the elder reminded him. Li Xian, strangely enough, found himself next to Kang Hai. The woman thought, did he use ghost steps? The elder remained silent. Kang Hai turned to him and asked how he did it. Like Chung did not answer this question, but asked if he himself was okay. So then let him tell what he wanted. Then King Hayes said that while he was away, subordinate elders broke into his house and tried to kill him. Liching asked again, but how did he know that they were his subordinates? Kang Hagai replied that Quan Jenny told him about it. He asked if he knew a man named Mamalaji. He held a machete to her throat. Lynching. Turned to the elder and said that he demands an explanation. Is his friend telling the truth? The elder smiled and said laughter is not only that. A simple child has the power of Miriam, but he also throws around some ridiculous accusations. Kang Hayes shouted, what does he say has anything to do with this? That he is an ordinary person. The old man said seriously. Not to reveal his identity. This charter was concluded for the sake of the existence of the ordinary world, and Miriam. Does he think Kang Hyun knows that if he violates this he can lose his life? However, now he is an ordinary person endowed with energy and reprimands him. An elder on issues regarding Miriam, Kang Hage thought. Of course, knew that Liz Young had done something very serious. But was it really that serious? Was it for nothing that he intervened in the first place? Why then did he take such a risk? So let him answer how the energy ended up in his body. Why is he silent? If it turns out that this is the work of the head of the Sunni clan, then he will bear responsibility not only for himself, but also for the entire clan. King Hagi thought that something needed to be done. He shouted for the elder to wait and raised his hand saying that he had a question. He addressed the elder as a grandfather and asked, the problem is that he is an ordinary person. The old man said in surprise. If so, yes, King Hayes said that then the problem will disappear. He becomes a merman. The elder asked again, what came? Hagi said this is so. If he becomes a merman, then the matter will only concern the merman. Then there aren't any problems, isn't he? The elder shouted that it was quite absurd. In his opinion, anyone could become a merman. To become part of a Miram, you must either be born one or join the clan in early childhood. He thinks that at his age, an ordinary person is capable of becoming. Suddenly Lynching interrupted him and said that it is possible because he himself became a merman at his age, so he may well succeed. The old man became furious, saying what nonsense. Lynching said that he will join the clan, so they themselves will figure out what is nonsense and what is not. Is that enough? Now it's his turn to answer. Did the elder order his subordinates to attack him? They looked at each other, then the old man said that enough of the ridiculous suspicions because he himself knew that he could not give such an order. Like Jing said that he saw his friend being beaten. If he had nothing to fear, why did they attack the person who came to meet him? Despite this, he came alone to talk with him, but it turns out that expecting a normal conversation from him is a stupid decision. The old man became worried. It looks like there was a misunderstanding, right? Suddenly, like Shengyan shouted to the elder, does he really hope for a normal dialogue in this situation? If he wants to continue their conversation, he will have to talk with his corpse. They stared at each other, chiefly called the elder in a whisper, and said that she decided to contact the Northern Black Star just in case, but he did not answer. Moreover, the Sanu clan is now combing places in the city that the Stream clan visited. In other words, the situation is not developing in the best way. The elder gritted his teeth. Kang. I shuddered and thought, what's wrong with him? A strong flow of power emanated from the old man. Why is Kang Heti so scared? He just stands still. If only he didn't suddenly appear before my eyes and start attacking. The old man exhaled. Kang Hai thought that now he doesn't look so creepy. He told Chief Lee to contact the Southern Red Star. Let him tell him to escort him, since the head of the clan is here. The old man walked towards them. The girl said that she had contacted them. He turned to Kang Hai and asked what his name was. The student replied that his name was Kang Hagi. The old man looked at him closely. Kang Haga means well. We need to see how long he can last in Miriam. He passed by. Kang Hai shook. It looked like he was hit. The elder added, that eternal energy is why Kuman ran hunts. After these words, like Shine's eyes widened, the elder said, didn't he come here to find out this, despite the difficult circumstances? Surely, after hearing the recent news about Kumon Ren, he became interested in why he began to act like. He asked if he was involved in the fact that people from the Special Forces Department visited him. The old man replied that the large Mormon clans, which can be counted on one hand, have not moved for several months. Moreover, rumors began to circulate that the head of the Sanu clan had become a cripple and anyone would be interested. The young man was embarrassed. The old man added what he wanted to say. He didn't say it, but he was convinced that the young man was safe and sound, so that's enough. Like Shine asked him what his eternal energy. The old man grinned. He glanced sideways at the guy and asked if he refused to talk like Shine. Exclaimed Elder. The man told him to give up pursuing Kuman Ren. With his current skills, it was tantamount to suicide. They disappeared. King Hayek thought that they were like half-demons of some kind. He looked towards Li Seung and asked, is he okay? Is something wrong? Like, Shun Yan grabbed him by the clothes and shouted, how did he end up here? King Heihe replied that he was separated from Quan Jenny, and then he heard about this place from my manga. Like Shine shouted he heard what next. Why did he rush here madly? You never know what kind of place this is. Kang Heye asked for forgiveness, but added that he cared about him, and he shouldn't worry. Like Chung Yan frowned. He let go of his clothes and said that for the most part he helped him out of a fleeting feeling of compassion, and before his physical features were similar to his, Kang Heye thought, physical features. He also said that with such characteristics, when he is weak from birth, no exercises help. On the contrary, due to physical exertion, there is a chance of dying earlier. Modern medicine will not correct these physical features, but he can be cured by the miraculous medicines of Merma and the circulation of energy. Although he was stupid, and did not think that after treatment he would accumulate so much energy, Kang Heye turned to him and said that he didn't really understand what he was talking about, but he meant that he recovered thanks to him, didn't he? Isn't that good? Like Chung Yan shouted. Okay, what's good about this? Does he even know what he did recently? He began to shout at the top of his voice that he would become a merman, especially in front of the elder himself. He can no longer escape. All he can do is become a merman. He just wanted to improve his physical abilities, but ended up dragging him into this horror. Kang Hage paused and then told Li Xiong to stop already. He's worried about him becoming a merman, right? Why is he angry? It's his decision, even if something goes wrong. He himself will bear responsibility. Li Xiong said that he was saying this because he didn't know anything about Moram. Kang Hage interrupted him and said that he understood perfectly well what he was going through, but he also said that he lives now thanks to him. Therefore, he doesn't care whether he is a mere man or not. He just wants to be in the same world as him. There was something else he called Mirabad, but it's only him who thinks so, isn't it? If it really had fallen apart a long time ago. But judging by the fact that it still blooms and smells, I'm sure there are a lot of people in this world who like Miriam. Isn't he right? Lynching was surprised. He remembered the words of a certain man, how he said that he loves Miriam. Perhaps for the head. This world seems wild. But for them who were born and raised in Miriam, it is like a homeland. He would really like to one day accept Miriam as his own home. The man with the beard told him like Chungyan, smiled a little and said that if you think about it, those who like Miriam really were. His face became softer. Suddenly, he heard someone's voice from the roof. He turned to see a guy sitting with a perkim. He said thank God he is still alive. King Hei jerked and asked who is there. Like Shung turned to him and said that he was somehow early. The guy jumped off the roof and said that it was better to come earlier, otherwise it would be the end. He looked at Like Shining and remained silent. It's been a while since they've seen each other. How's it going? Like Shining smiled. Little and answered yes. Shung Hei asked, rubbing his head. Is he from the Sun Wu clan? The guy noticed him and asked who he was. Kang Hei replied that he was willing to become the new member of the Sunroof clan. Suddenly, he heard a roar. Large black cars drove up. The doors opened and a crowd of people in black suits came out. Kang Hege shouted that things were bad. Did those people just leave? The unfamiliar guy with Perkins said they had already arrived, and why did they say to hurry up? Li Qing said that this would be the first greeting. The men folded their hands and simultaneously shouted that they greeted the head of the Sunu clan. Li Young told Kang He to meet their clan members a little later. Two men with glasses examined Kang Hagi. He laughed awkwardly. One of them asked Li Song wants to accept him into the clan. King Hai asked who are these people. Li Xiong replied that these were elders, Men and Kim. The two men looked intently at Kang Hai and Quan. Jenny was also standing nearby. One of the elders turned to the head and said that they should not stand on the street. It was better to go inside. King Hayes thought, it didn't seem like a friendly environment. He shouldn't have come. Lesion approached Quan Jenny and asked if she could take him to the library and cure him. The girl exclaimed why she had to do this. Kang Hai thought that he was right, and he was clearly not welcome here. But Li Xiong asked her not to leave the guest. Alone, he smiled a little. Quan Jenny blushed and said okay. She turned to Kang Hai and told him to follow her. She treated his wounds and told him to stop making faces because the wounds were nothing. He said that he didn't think he would see her and asked if she lived here too. King Hai looked around and asked, is Li Xiong from a rich family? This is a luxurious. Why did Genie hit him on the head and told him not to pretend that they knew each other well? What was Like Shiny even thinking about? She was deliberately silent about the fact that he was unreasonably using tail and life pills. Kang Hagi asked, were these pills very valuable? She replied that he actually listens to her. How many times can I repeat that? Yes. Since they healed him, let him explain how he ended up here with lynching. Kang Hai shuddered and began to explain, stuttering. At this time, there were men sitting in the room and like sitting at the head of the table. Elderman exclaimed, so this is what happened. This of course worries him too, but he is completely bewildered by the rest of the news. He was treated by the Phantom Doctor. All this time, and also saw the head of the Martial Arts Federation lynching apologized for disposing of the Sun Wu clan's treasure without permission. One of the men stood up and said it seems to him that the head acted too frivolously. He was advised to first consult with them before meeting with the Phantom Doctor, and the head of the Federation like Chung replied that if he had consulted, they would have given their consent. While in his hospital bed, he asked several times to arrange a meeting with the Phantom Doctor, but the Sun Wu clan constantly opposed it, citing their enmity. When he was unable to do anything about Miriam, nonsensical rumors began to spread around him. Rumors that the Sunu clan is falling apart and its head has become disabled. In their opinion, he should have sat idly by. The guy with Perkins thought that the head had changed before he was such a sissy. Elderman told the head not to get excited. Boss Lee Dubium said that only out of concern for him. Okay, it's better to close the topic. The head says that Kumon Ren showed up in Miriam again. This is not a good situation in this case. Disagreements may arise even within the Sonu clan lynching. Asked if the elder only cares about other people's opinions or if he still doubts his hatred of Kumon Ren, there was an awkward silence. Elder Ming said with a smile that he was just stating the current situation. The precious treasure of the Sun Wu clan went to a simple schoolboy. Moreover, he suddenly tasks to be accepted into the clan. If we think logically, this could lead to discord in the Sun Wu clan. No, he understands why. Like she wants to help that guy, but can he fight Kumon Ren in this state? The old man squinted his eyes at him like Chung Yan thought. He said that he wants to help his friend at all costs. However, this is his personal desire. And he knows very well that he bears responsibility as the head of the clan, which is why he would like to hear their opinion. If they are categorically against it, he will destroy its center and take the power back. The men shuddered. The guy with the perkim thought he was just talking about this. I myself had a similar experience. I know what it is, Eldering said. In that case, the matter is closed. The head therefore told him to wait in the library. At this time, Queen Jenny sat down on the sofa and said, she knew that Mamamology knew like Chung, it was so easy from a simple blow that the helmet hit the ground. She turned to him, found out where Leeching had to immediately report. And what did he do? Did you do? King Hagache said that he thought it was some kind of trap. Let her just imagine how strange it is. Why was it necessary to organize a circus if he would then quite calmly receive information from Watching Quan Traun, Jenny said yes 100%. Mama Angie was simply afraid to cross the path of old man Danjo. Kang Hagi asked old Danju, is it about the grandfather that lynching met today? She said that she and he were sworn enemies and Mama Angie was his servant. King He spoke, but that old man when suddenly the girl's phone rang. She stood up and said that they had finished. It seemed they needed to go. The door swung open, and they entered the room where the people of the Sunu clan were sitting. King He swallowed. The atmosphere here is certainly scary. Suddenly, Elder Men asked, is his name Kang Haishi? He towered over him. King He timidly confirmed. The man extended his hand to him for a handshake. Said welcome to the clan. Min Seok is the elder of the Sun Wu clan king. Haha, I thanked him and grabbed his hand. The man remained silent. Suddenly the man in the white robe clapped his hands and told them to finish for today. It's already late, and it's time for the head to rest. He got into the car with Elder Ming, and said that they had to go and bowed and wished them a good journey. The car drove off and the man in the white robe asked Elder Ming, doesn't it seem to him that the head has changed? He answered positively, but for the better. The man replied, well of course. They were then worried that they would suddenly take extreme measures. Elder Kim said that's why they gave him life pills. They wanted to help him recover. Still, it's a pity that the head gave it to someone else, while he himself was treated by the Phantom Doctor. Didn't he take his pulse? They say that after treating an interrupted pulse, you can start learning martial arts. Is it the same with this guy? Elderman replied that he knows that the more energy pathways that are interrupted, the more difficult the treatment is. But if such a disease is cured, then a person will be able to show much better results. Elderman said that this is true for the head. For example, the disease of the intersection of the three ins. Elder Kim replied, yes, but that guy has a single yin disease and there was nothing to expect. It is easier for him to win the lottery than to reach the level of Indoc Tatone. Elder Kim exclaimed, why did he suddenly mention Doc Tatone to them? Really? Elder Kim said that this guy is a real jackpot. At this time, Quan Jenny turned to him and told him to finish saying goodbye. She would give him a ride home. King Hayes smiled and said that of course he would be glad if she gave him a ride, but suddenly the guy with the perkin grabbed him and said that if he sticks to Quan Genie, he will tear off his head and kill him on his nose. Kang Hyatt got scared and said yes. Sitting in the car, Elder Kim exclaimed, isn't there Doc Tai Tone the same level that a merman can only achieve after 10 years of training? Taiwan life pills are not such a great medicine. Elder Kim replied that it was not only this. This became possible also due to the fact that the head pushed the energy of the pills with his enormous internal strength. Elderman exclaimed, due to the disease of a single yen at a time. Bring them to a doc. Tatone. What level is the internal energy of the head? Elder Ming replied that his energy was not bad before, but after the phantom doctor's hand touched him, the head seemed to turn into a different creature. Knight fell like WM, bowed to the head and told him to rest.